I want to talk about self-awareness. Have you ever had one of those situations where you receive feedback about your behaviour and you were actually a bit surprised or potentially a little bit shocked about how somebody perceived you? It didn't really align with your view as to how you came across. Alternatively, have you ever come out of a meeting where you thought that the decision had been made? Everybody was agreed, you knew what the actions were, but later on, you find out that not everybody was on the same page, where you become aware of the fact that you went across everybody else's perspectives. There's also the situation where you're heavily reliant on facts and data and information, and you present that to other people, but they don't get on board with the logic of the idea. And then you find it very difficult to sway them to your point of view because they're not reading the data. And you think that maybe they're a little bit illogical because surely the facts tell the story. And then finally, sometimes we have situations where an hour or so later, we realise that we're clenching our fist like really tight, and it's because we're feeling angry. And you sort of recognise that, oh, hang on, oh my goodness, maybe for the last hour or so, since a particular incident or meeting, that you've had an emotional response and you've been in that heightened state for quite a while, especially now once you stop and think about it. And then you do wonder, oh, how might I have come across to other people and what impact it may have on some of your relationships or some of the decisions that you've made while you've been in that heightened state over the last couple of hours. So all of these situations point to our level of self-awareness. How aware are we of how we're perceived by others? Do we know how we're coming across? Do we know how we're showing up? Are we relying too heavily on data and information rather than connecting on a human level in relation to decisions and being on board with the idea? Also, how's your emotional state potentially compromising your performance or compromising the trust that you have with other people? It's really important for us to understand that with self-awareness comes that ability to recognise our emotional state, know what our hot buttons are, and then also be able to manage ourselves in that moment. We really have that opportunity to think about, how am I perceived? How am I coming across? And what might I need to do to change the situation? There's some interesting research out there. The Korn Ferry group back in 2018 did some research on high-performing leaders with high emotional self-awareness, and they discovered that in 92% of cases, they had high energy and high-performing teams. And then conversely, in very sharp contrast, those leaders that had low emotional self-awareness created negative climates within their team 72% of the time. So that certainly gives you a case for developing your self-awareness. In a study done by Cornell University, they have shown that high emotional self-awareness is one of the strongest predictors of overall success. Now, that makes sense to me, because if you are able to manage your emotional state, understand what situations are problematic for you, and work with that knowledge to make decisions, then of course you're going to have great success. And also, if you're aware of how you're perceived and can change yourself in that moment to best suit the circumstances and get a read on other people and how they're reacting or responding to you, then that's incredibly helpful. Then you're in a really good position to engage others, to influence them, to be able to build strong, trusting relationships. Now, emotional self-awareness isn't something that you can just turn on and you achieve it once and you're done. Every moment is an opportunity to be self-aware or not. And it's a continual endeavour. It's a conscious choice. And the good news is that the more you do it, the more you practice it, the easier it becomes.